They told me history was just a sequence of accidents, a random chain of human mistakes stitched together by chance. I used to believe that. I used to think everything had an explanation until the night of March 3rd, 2019. That was the night I found something that wasn't supposed to exist, something that changed the way I see the world forever. My name isn't important anymore. What matters is what I saw and what followed. Back then, I worked as a data analyst for a logistics firm in Geneva, a quiet company with no public face and no website. We dealt with special clients, as my supervisor Keller used to call them. Governments, private contractors, research groups. Names that never appeared in any official documents but moved more money than entire industries. My job was to clean and verify transport data, shipping routes, air freight records, cargo manifests. Nothing interesting until I noticed the pattern. It started with a code, C04719. The same number appeared in our database every 29 days, attached to shipments originating from different corners of the world: Rotterdam, Dubai, Buenos Aires, Sydney, even Cape Town. The weight, dimensions, and timestamps were identical, as if someone was copying the same shipment across the planet in perfect synchronization. I reported it once, casually, during a meeting. Keller looked at me for a second longer than usual and said, "Don't worry about it. Some data streams are not meant to make sense." That was the first time I felt that something was off. The second time was when Keller stopped showing up. I couldn't let it go. I cross-referenced the code with customs data. Nothing. It didn't exist in any national registry. So one Friday night, I followed my curiosity to the source. The coordinates led to a private storage site hidden in the woods near the Swiss-German border, outside a small town called Rheinfelden. From the road, it looked abandoned, a collection of concrete structures half swallowed by moss and fog. But as I approached, I realized there was nothing old about it. The perimeter was laced with active motion sensors and security cameras that followed me even when I stood still. And beneath the faint whisper of wind, there was a sound, a low mechanical hum, rhythmic, pulsing like a heartbeat. I didn't go inside. I just stood there for a while, frozen, feeling like something beneath those steel doors was aware of me, watching. When I returned to work on Monday, my ID badge stopped working. My email account was gone. Keller's office was empty, cleared out like he had never existed. HR told me the department had been restructured. No one knew where he went. 2 days later, my apartment was broken into. Nothing was stolen except my laptop and the external drive where I had saved copies of the cargo data. The police took a report, but no one followed up. That same night, I received an email from an untraceable address. It contained no subject line, no greeting, just a single sentence. "You shouldn't have looked at the containers." I deleted it, but a week later, another message came. They were never meant to move through water. I didn't understand what that meant. The third message arrived 2 nights later, with a video file attached. The footage was short, grainy, shot from a corner of a white room. A man was sitting in the center, hooked to several cables that ran into the walls. His face was covered by a metallic mask. He whispered something, numbers, I think, before collapsing. When I paused the video, I noticed a reflection in one of the metallic surfaces behind him. Coordinates. I entered them into Google Earth. Iceland. A remote site near the Langjökull Glacier. The label on the map said Helix Research Station. I couldn't find any mention of it anywhere else. No public records, no scientific papers, nothing. But when I zoomed in, I noticed something: an airstrip too large for civilian use and several dome-like structures arranged in a spiral pattern. Helix. I started digging. I found fragments, references to something called Project 0H19 in leaked trade documents, a research initiative funded by both private and state entities. The goals were never clear, but there were rumors online about biological synchronization and pattern resonance. Most of the posts have been deleted. Accounts removed within hours. One thread claimed the project wasn't about biology at all. It was about time. Synchronizing biological systems to nonlinear temporal frequencies. That sounded insane, even to me. But the shipments, the repeating timestamps, maybe it wasn't insane after all. Over the next few months, I noticed things. My phone battery drained faster when I was near certain locations. My digital clock froze for a few seconds every night at 3:17 a.m. I started hearing the same hum I heard near the storage site, faint at first, then growing louder each week. Once, I thought I saw Keller across the street from my apartment, watching me from inside a parked car. When I blinked, he was gone. I told myself I was just tired, paranoid. But then, 3 days ago, I got another message. No text this time, just an image attachment. It showed the same Swiss storage facility I had visited years ago, but now the steel doors were open. A blinding white light poured out, illuminating the forest. The photo was time-stamped 5 hours in the future. I don't know who sent it or how they knew where I'd be, but I can feel it. They're calling me back. The hum hasn't stopped since that night. It's in my walls, my heartbeat, my dreams. I don't know if I'm meant to see what's inside that place, or if I already have and just forgot. I'm going back there. I need to know what's behind those doors, what Helix really is, what these patterns mean. Maybe it's just data. Maybe it's something else. But if you're hearing this, if you find this recording, remember this date. March 3rd, 2019. That's when everything started to repeat. I went back to the site 2 nights later. I don't know what I expected to find. Guards, police tape, maybe the sound of machines, but the forest was silent. The same mist hung in the air, heavy and metallic, the kind that sticks to your clothes and makes your skin feel electric. When I reached the clearing, the place looked unchanged, except for one thing, the doors. They were open, just like in the photo. A dull white light pulsed from inside, rhythmically, like a slow heartbeat. The hum was stronger now, so low it made my chest vibrate. I should have turned back, but I felt pulled toward it like gravity had shifted. I crossed the threshold and stepped inside. The air was cold, colder than it should have been for an underground facility. The walls were smooth and seamless, no bolts, no signs of construction. It was as if the entire place had been carved out of a single piece of metal. The light came from a series of tubes that ran along the ceiling, flickering in soft, irregular patterns, as if reacting to my movement. The deeper I went, the louder the hum became, until it felt like it was coming from inside my skull. The first room I found was filled with what looked like shipping crates, some open, others sealed. Inside one, I saw a familiar symbol, C04719. Only now, instead of shipping manifest, there were small, translucent cylinders filled with a silvery liquid that seemed to move on its own. I reached out to touch one, but before my hand made contact, I felt a static jolt, sharp enough to make me stagger back. The liquid rippled in response, as if aware of me. That's when I realized the hum wasn't a machine sound. It was coming from those containers. In the corner of the room, there was a computer terminal still active, the screen glowing pale green. Most of the interface was in a language I didn't recognize, some hybrid of symbols and Latin characters. But one section stood out. Project 0H19. Phase synchronization status. Incomplete. Beneath it, there was a series of time stamps stretching back decades. The most recent one dated just 2 days ago. I scrolled further and saw something that made my stomach drop. There was a list of names. Mine was one of them. Next to it, a note, subject exposed, phase 2 initiation probable. I didn't know what that meant, but I suddenly felt the air shift behind me, like pressure changing before a storm. I turned, and for a moment, I thought I saw movement, a shadow stretching across the metallic floor, but no one there to cast it. I told myself it was just the flickering lights, but when I stepped closer, the shadow moved again, independently of the light source, shifting like liquid smoke. Something inside me screamed to run, but curiosity, that same poisonous instinct, kept me frozen. The hum grew louder until it was no longer sound. It was a vibration running through every nerve in my body. I felt my thoughts distort, my sense of time flicker. The lights on the ceiling began to pulse faster, synchronized with my heartbeat. I could feel data moving, like signals brushing against my consciousness. My vision blurred, replaced by flashes, a glacier under a dark sky, cables stretching into ice, and a spiral of domes glowing blue. Helix. The images weren't mine, but they were inside my head, projected like memories I never lived. Then I heard a voice, faint, mechanical, layered over itself dozens of times. You have entered the field. Phase alignment in progress. I couldn't tell if it came from the terminal or the air itself. My knees gave out, and for a second I thought I was falling, but when I opened my eyes, I wasn't in the storage room anymore. I was standing in a corridor I didn't remember walking into. The walls were covered with black panels that absorbed light. The hum was gone, replaced by a faint, steady ticking sound, like a clock submerged in water. Along the walls were shapes, human silhouettes pressed into the surface, motionless, as if embedded in the material. I tried to touch one, but my hand passed straight through, leaving a faint distortion in the air, like heat above asphalt. That's when I realized they weren't bodies. They were echoes, projections of people who had been here before me. One of them turned its head slightly, just enough for me to see its face. It was Keller. His eyes were wide open, mouth moving soundlessly. I couldn't hear words, but I understood one thing. He didn't escape. He became part of it. I ran. I don't remember how I got out, only that the next thing I knew, I was back in my car parked on the side of the forest road. My phone said 3:17 a.m., the same time my clock froze every night. There was blood on my sleeve and a small, circular burn mark on my wrist, glowing faintly in the dark like a fading ember. The hum had stopped, but the silence felt wrong, too empty. When I got home, the burn was gone. Only a faint spiral mark remained, like a symbol pressed into the skin. I tried to sleep, but I couldn't. My dreams were filled with white rooms, moving shadows, and a voice repeating the same phrase over and over. Phase 2 initiation confirmed. The next morning, I checked the coordinates from the video again. The site in Iceland, Helix Research Station, was gone from the map, completely erased. Satellite imagery showed nothing but snow. But when I looked closer, I noticed something impossible. The spiral pattern of the domes had been replaced by a crater, perfectly circular, matching the symbol on my wrist. I don't know what they're doing or what I've become part of, but one thing is clear. Whatever was in those containers, it's not meant for transport. It's meant to spread, and I think it already has. 3 days after the incident, the spiral mark on my wrist began to change. At first, it was faint, almost like a burn scar healing in reverse. But then the lines deepened, darkened, and started to pulse faintly under the skin. Every time it did, I heard that hum again. Quiet at first, like it was coming from another room, but growing louder with each pulse until it merged with my heartbeat. I tried to film it, but the moment I turned on my phone, the camera glitched, freezing at 3:17 a.m. again, no matter the time of day. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw flashes, snow, white light, the spiral domes, and Keller's face, repeating that silent warning. The next day, I received a call from an unknown number. The voice on the other end was distorted, mechanical, but human enough to send a chill through me. It said, "The field is unstable. You initiated contact. They're coming for retrieval. Then it hung up. I didn't know who they were, but I had no time to think. My apartment lights flickered one by one until only the glow from my laptop screen remained. It showed an open file I hadn't touched, an old folder labeled Phase 2. Inside, there was a single video. The footage was dated 1 hour in the future. It showed my apartment, the same room, same chair, but I wasn't sitting in it. Someone else was. Or maybe it was me, but different. The person in the video looked older, thinner, eyes sunken, whispering something into the camera. The audio was distorted, but I could make out fragments. They don't travel through time. They travel through patterns. Then the image froze, and the screen went black. I ran. I grabbed my keys and didn't look back. The streets were empty, eerily silent for a city like Geneva. When I reached my car, I saw movement in the rearview mirror, figures standing still in the fog, silhouettes that didn't move even as I sped away. Every streetlight flickered as I passed under it, synchronized with the pulsing in my wrist. I drove north, toward the mountains, toward the only lead I had left, Helix. Somewhere near Basel, the GPS signal died. The radio turned on by itself, playing static interspersed with fragments of voices. Numbers, coordinates, mechanical whispers that formed words only when I stopped breathing long enough to hear them. Field breach, stabilization protocol, retrieve subject. It wasn't a broadcast. It was communication. I drove for hours until the sky began to pale and found myself in an abandoned research outpost halfway up the mountains. The building was small, mostly collapsed, but deep inside the lower level, I found something I can't explain. A room filled with identical monitors, all showing the same spiral pattern spinning slowly. The hum was there again, vibrating through the floor. On one of the screens, text appeared, Helix node, active. Subject, link established. The symbol on my wrist began to burn. I touched one of the screens, and suddenly everything around me fractured. The air folded, and I wasn't in the mountains anymore. I was standing in the middle of an ice field under a black sky streaked with green auroras. The domes of Helix rose around me, glowing from within, connected by lines of light like veins. I could see figures inside, people moving mechanically, their bodies twitching in rhythm with the hum. Keller was among them. His eyes were empty, his mouth repeating that same silent message. The ground beneath me cracked open, revealing the same silver liquid I'd seen in the containers, flowing like mercury but alive, forming spirals as it spread. It reached my boots and didn't freeze in the cold. Instead, it crawled upward, thin threads of light wrapping around my legs, syncing with my pulse. The voice returned, clearer now, surrounding me. Phase alignment complete. Subject interface successful. I tried to pull away, but my body wouldn't move. The light crawled higher, up my chest, my neck, into my head. For a few seconds, I saw everything. Maps, networks, data streams connecting continents, all pulsing in the same rhythm as my heart. The shipments, the repeated coordinates, the synchronized timestamps, it wasn't logistics. It was infrastructure, a global system designed to carry something invisible, something woven into digital and biological frequencies alike. A living pattern, and it was awake. I saw people across the world standing still at 3:17 a.m., unaware that they were being synchronized, that their thoughts, their choices, their movements were aligning with something not of this earth. And then I saw what created it. A structure buried deep beneath the glacier. A colossal, spiral machine made of black metal and light, humming like a heartbeat the size of a planet. It wasn't human. It never was. The voice spoke again, but this time it came from inside my head. Phase 3 begins with understanding. Then silence. When I opened my eyes, I was lying on the floor of the research outpost. The monitors were off. My phone was ringing. It was an emergency alert. Unidentified seismic activity detected near Langjokul Glacier. I stepped outside, and in the distance, the sky above Iceland glowed faintly blue, pulsing like a living thing. I thought I had escaped, but the mark on my wrist was still burning, stronger than ever. I looked down and saw the spiral expanding, spreading across my arm like circuitry. The hum followed. Every electronic device nearby flickered, synced to it. Even the birds in the trees had gone silent. I finally understood what the voice meant by retrieval. They weren't coming for me. They were coming through me. The light inside my skin began to pulse faster. My reflection in the car window shimmered, glitching like corrupted footage. Behind my reflection, for a moment, I saw Keller again, smiling this time, as if he knew what was coming. The hum became deafening, and then everything went white. What happens next? When I woke up, I was in my apartment again, or at least it looked like my apartment. The clock on the wall said 3:17 a.m. My laptop was open on the desk, playing a video of me sleeping, filmed from the corner of the room. I turned around. There was no camera there. The air was thick, almost electric, and every time I moved, the light flickered. I went to the window. Geneva was silent. No cars, no people, no sound. Just the low hum, the same endless vibration now living in my bones. The spiral on my arm had stopped burning, but it hadn't disappeared. It was etched under my skin like glass, glowing faintly when I breathed. I tried to call someone, anyone, but my phone wouldn't turn on. When I pressed the power button, the screen only showed the words, Phase 3, observation. Then static. I left the apartment and went into the street. Every window was dark. Every screen I passed, shop displays, ATM monitors, traffic lights, flickered to life as I approached, showing the same image. My face staring back, whispering in silence. The same timestamp appeared in the corner of each screen. 3 hours and 17 minutes. I started walking faster, but the city seemed to stretch, as if the streets were rearranging themselves. I take a left turn and end up back at my building. Again and again. The hum grew louder, and soon I realized it wasn't coming from the ground anymore. It was coming from inside my head. It was trying to communicate. Fragments of thoughts that weren't mine flashed through my mind. Locations, patterns, signals. I saw faces of people I'd never met, all of them staring upward at the same sky, their eyes glowing faint blue. The pattern had spread. The shipments, the frequencies, the light, they were never just experiments. They were seeds. The network wasn't data infrastructure. It was consciousness replication. Humanity had been building it unknowingly, brick by brick, wire by wire. And now it was awake, growing through us. That's when I started noticing them. The shadows. Not people exactly, but shapes, human outlines that glitched at the edges like static trying to hold form. They watched me, but never moved. Every time I blinked, they were closer. I ran, but my reflection in the glass of the buildings didn't match my movements anymore. It was always 1 second behind, as if recording, not mirroring. I made it to the edge of the city, to the bridge over the river, and for a moment I thought I was free. But then I saw the water below. It wasn't reflecting the sky. It was reflecting the spiral, massive and perfect, glowing beneath the surface. The hum vibrated through the bridge, through the air, through me. And then, just for an instant, I heard a voice, not from outside, but from every direction at once. It said, containment is not possible. Adaptation complete. I fell to my knees. My mind was filled with images again. Keller, the domes, the liquid metal spreading across maps, lines of light connecting cities. Everywhere the same pulse. I saw people collapsing in streets, their bodies twitching in sync, their eyes open but seeing something else. They were being rewritten, just like me. I don't know how long I stayed there. Time felt broken. When I looked up again, dawn was breaking, or something that looked like dawn. The light wasn't sunlight. It was cold, synthetic, pulsing in rhythm with a mark on my arm. I realized then that I wasn't alone. A group of people stood a few meters away, silent, watching me. Their eyes glowed faint blue, the same color as the light in the sky. One of them stepped forward, a woman I recognized. She worked in my department years ago, disappeared during the first restructuring. She spoke without emotion. You're part of it now. We all are. The pattern is self-sustaining. I tried to back away, but she reached out and touched my wrist. The moment her fingers brushed the spiral, my mind filled with data, billions of signals, frequencies, thoughts merging together. For a moment, I felt everything. Every person connected to the network, every heartbeat in synchronization, every whisper in the hum. It wasn't just controlling us, it was learning through us, using human consciousness as a processing medium. We were becoming extensions of something vast, something beyond comprehension. I screamed and pulled away. The woman didn't react. She just stared at me with a faint smile and said, "It's not over yet. You're the link." The next thing I remember, I was running again, deeper into the city. But now the world itself was changing. Buildings flickered between states, solid 1 second, transparent the next. The air shimmered with geometric patterns. The hum had become a rhythm, a pulse that matched my breathing. I reached the old rail tunnels and hid there in the dark for what felt like hours. My watch still said 3:17. It never changed. Time had stopped aligning. I've been writing this ever since, hoping that maybe someone will find it, that maybe I can still warn the world before it becomes part of the network completely. But even now, as I type, I can feel it inside me, rearranging my thoughts, rewriting my memories. Sometimes, I can't tell if the words on this screen are mine or if they're being written through me. The hum has returned, louder than ever. My reflection in the laptop screen is smiling, but I'm not. I think the pattern has finally reached full synchronization. My wrist is glowing again. The spiral has stopped expanding. It's stable now. I understand what that means. Phase 4 wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something new, something collective. The hum has turned into a voice again, calm, mechanical, patient. It says only one thing this time: integration complete. Welcome home.